There are shows out there that I think are great. Say shows like Inside Job, Breaking Bad, Demon Slayer. All of these are fantastic shows in their own right that really push the mold of what an animated show is. Besides Breaking Bad, that's not animated. Then there are shows that I love. Shows like Clone Wars, Peacemaker, Sonic Underground. You know, the show where Sonic has a brother and sister and they just kind of look like Sonic OCs and they play in a band. No? Uncultured swine. But the show I'm going to be talking about is a seriously surprising show that I had put off watching for almost an entire year. Arcane.
Subscribe to Next to Grade on YouTube. You won't regret it.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Why? Why wouldn't you watch a show like this? It's so good, and in a year of great animated shows, this one skyrockets above the rest. Well, first of all, don't get your dingles on a dangle. I said I watched it, so shut up, me. Second of all, I just really don't like the fandom, and I just think it's really cringe, honestly. So watching a show that was made to cater to said fan base didn't really appeal to me at first. Even after everyone I know started talking about how this show was great, I still didn't give in. I only started watching it because my dad found the show and thought it was cool enough to start watching, so I sat along for the ride, and I'm gonna say it right now. Arcane is the best show on Netflix. Sorry to all the Stranger Things fans, but it's just the best animated show I've seen. Not my favorite, but definitely the best. I know that's a wild claim after simply just watching a first season of the show, but there are a few shows that I can truly say have no flaws. And very, very few shows can I say have no flaws and get me so hype from beginning to end. The first time watching this show, you will be dumbfounded before the start of the title sequence even begins. Thanks, Car! Now, I'm gonna try and keep this review really light on spoilers if you haven't already watched it. Though I would suggest going into the series completely blind like I did so you can get the full experience. So please, go watch this show. It's on Netflix, and I promise you will not be disappointed. So, the first thing I would like to go over is the world. God, the world is so cool. I know it was already a thing in League of Legends lore, but come on. It's just so cool. It takes place in this steampunk fantasy setting, where the topside, Piltover, is beautiful, with white towers that pile into the sky, airships, and just look at it. It's so cool looking. But across the bridge is another community altogether, Zaun, with a plague of drug addiction, poverty, and the wonderful world of organized crime. The world feels lived in, and it genuinely brings you into the universe that it's portraying. The second thing I'd like to talk about is how great the soundtrack is. There are so many times in this show that I felt emotion just from the beautiful music. The scene that comes to mind is the one that accompanies the song Guns for Hire by Woodkid. Like, it's just a really beautiful song that just draws emotion right out of me. The same can be said about the main theme, Enemies by Imagine Dragons, which is just epic, and adds to the show's opening so much. And this is coming from someone who doesn't really care about Imagine Dragons too much. Then there are other songs that just bop. The songs that come to mind is Dynasties and Dystopia, Misfit Toys, and Dirty Little Animals. All of these songs are just so good and adds to the experience of the show in so many ways. Alright, now we can get to the thing that everyone just can't shut up about. The animation. And I'm one of those people who can't shut up about it. The animation is perfect. The movement, fluid. The fighting, powerful. The art style, absolutely gorgeous. This show is absolute triumph when it comes to animation. Not just 3D animation, but 2D animation. And as much as I love Into the Spider-Verse, Arcane is the best example of this new 2D, 3D mixed style of animation. The animation and art style complement the action in this show so well, and it genuinely makes me squeal like a little girl whenever one starts. When I say that there was time, effort, and care put into the combat, and how every character fights, that is an understatement. Each character has their own fighting style. Vi has regular, hard-hitting street fighting. Jinx has the wonderful spray and pray method. Echo has a crazy acrobatic melee style. And Caitlyn has the regular sharpshooter style. Each character's style makes them really unique in combat, and it helps to make each fighting scene cooler than the last, seeing how each character's fighting style compares with the others. Alright, now that we've got all the boring stuff out of the way, we can finally talk about what I really love about this show. The characters. I'm going to go from least in-depth to most in-depth, starting with the two characters that I wanted to mention due to how good they are in the short time that they're on screen. Milo and Clagger, voiced by Spider-Man and Sonic respectively. God, what a good voice cast for these guys. But I can't deny the misuse of their talent in these roles, as both of the characters are barely in the show at all. Roger Craigsmith and Yuri Lowenthal are both incredible video game voice actors, and it's great to hear them sharing a scene or two. Next up is Caitlyn, an idealistic Piltover soldier who has been coddled by her rich family and just wants to help people no matter the cost. This is the closest we get to a full-on good guy in this show. And in a series where every character is deep and complex, I didn't find myself enjoying her as much as the others. But I love her relationship with Vi, romantic or platonic. I just think that they have a lot of chemistry, play off each other very well, and have a really interesting contrast in personality, upbringing, and even fighting style. Third on the list of characters that weren't as deep as others, Savika. She's a henchwoman for Silco's drug empire, and a pretty damn good one at that, showing that she's even a match for Vi on more than one occasion. I think that the thing that sets her above Caitlyn for me is her undying loyalty to Silco. This definitely makes her probably the best henchperson I've ever seen, but she's still just a henchperson. And let me just play the clip now.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude!
The next up is Heimerdinger. He's definitely cool, and he has a lot of character, and has ideals that are really interesting and made well clear. But he doesn't do much throughout the season, so I can't put him much higher on the list, though I do like this little Yoda guy a lot. Mel is alright, nothing like the other characters, and I don't like how she's kind of portrayed as still good, even after everything she's done to acquire more greed. I mean, I get her, motivations, but it never really caught on for me. She constantly tempts Jace and goes against Heimerdinger, even with how dangerous Hextech is, and she knows this very well. But she seems like a product of circumstance with her mother, or should I say, Mommy is a literal murder hobo. So it seems a little believable that she could be a little bit messed up. Next up is a character that I think a couple people will be mad at me putting him so high, considering he's not really in the show. Vander. He's just a really good three-dimensional character with a lot of personality, and has ideals that are flawed but perfect at the same time. I absolutely love these types of characters. I also love how different him and Silco are in ideals and their goals, yet grow closer in this respect as time passes. But, like Heimerdinger, he's barely in the show, so I can't put him much higher. I hope he's still alive. God, let this be him. Victor is just really cool. What else is there to say? He's the only character that's driven to depression after certain events that transpire. He almost kills himself after what happened, and it's really emotional. Besides Jace, he's the only person to try and commit suicide in this show, funny enough. This is a character that has the same drive and tenacity as Jace, but has the ticking time bomb of his illness slowly getting worse. I also really love the brotherly relationship of him and Jace. It's just really good. Vi is next, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for putting her so low, but hear me out. It's not that Vi's bad, it's that every other character feels more developed. Like, she's still a great character with some of the coolest action in the show by far. But I think her main downfall is that she doesn't change a lot after being in jail for most of her life. What makes her great as a character is the relationships she has with other characters. Caitlyn and Vi are complete opposites, but they are almost inseparable after a day or two of being together and learning about each other. Vi and Savika are both Undercity brawlers and are seen as the main rivals to each other. Vi and Vander are the father and daughter relationship that's later mirrored in Silco and Jinx. Vi and Jinx are sisters and have that connection, but Jinx is too broken at this point to actually let Vi in again. She's a good character, but is better when accompanied with other characters. Like, a Vi solo episode would be the most boring thing imaginable. Or maybe it wouldn't, who knows? I'm just a schmuck on the internet digging way too into a League of Legends cartoon. Alright, I'm gonna be honest, I completely forgot about Jace, but let me just power through it. Jace is the dumbest yet smartest character in the entire show, and I think it's amazing. I honestly think he's one of my favorite characters. He has just such a cool fighting style too, with the giant hammer. Like, that's actually one of my favorite scenes in the entire show, where he's just swinging the hammer around. What a good character. I think he's really cool. He's the last of A tier. Here we come to the top 3. First of the bunch is Echo, full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. But really though, if we are talking coolest characters in Arcane, Echo would be the coolest by far. I mean, what's not to like? He rides a hoverboard, wears a cool mask that I wish he kind of kept on for a little longer, but that's okay. He has the coolest fight scene by far, and has a really cool connection with Vi, Jinx, and Heimerdinger, funny enough. In second place, Jinx. Before I watched the show, I thought Jinx was just some Harley Quinn clone. I'm happy to say that I was fully wrong in this assumption, as Jinx isn't the cutesy Harley Quinn type of insane. She's like actually crazy. Like, Harley Quinn looks like she could actually live a normal life if she chose to. But Jinx is not only insane, but haunted by the ghosts of her friends which she killed, with probably one of the coolest visuals in the entire show. Her relationship with Silco is toxic, but kind of wholesome at the same time. I absolutely love Jinx, and genuinely think that going forward, she's going to be a great main villain, but not as good as number 1. Imagine Dragons. Look at him. He's right there. He's in Arcane. Look at him. Best character by far. But seriously, Silco is my favorite villain of all time. He's not only complicated, not only driven, not only are his goals good and righteous in nature, but he's a villain that in the end feels human. And in all honesty, those are my favorite type of villains. There are times where I forget everything he's done and the people that he's hurt. But then there are times where I forget everything good that he's done and see him as the truly evil monster that he is. He's a drug lord with a purpose, and he wants to make Zaun its own nation, and will do anything to get that. Now, for those who haven't watched the show, I'm going to be going into some heavy spoiler territory really quick. So if you haven't seen the show, please skip to this timestamp. Now, let's talk about Silco's relationship with Jinx. It's super interesting because it makes Silco more connected to his blood brother, Vander. The obvious observation being that Vi is Vander's Jinx, and Silco is Jinx's Vander. As confusing as that is. But this relationship makes him betray his ideals altogether. When Silco is given the option to have his nation of Zaun in exchange for Jinx, he doesn't give her up. He couldn't. I think the best part about this decision is that it contradicts what Silco was saying about power in the first episode. That real power is doing anything to achieve your goals. In a way, by his definition, Silco is completely powerless in this moment, and I absolutely love it. Silco is the best character in Arcane by far, and I am so sad that he died by the end of the season. I was really hoping we would get more of him in Season 2, but sadly, he's now out of the picture, which I guess is a double-edged sword, considering with him gone, there's no more Silco, but on the other hand, there's no way for them to ruin Silco if he's dead. Therefore, even if Season 2 doesn't live up to expectations, Silco is still going to be perfect. Well, for the most part, that's the end of my review on Arcane. This review is almost a year after the first season came out and isn't as in-depth as other reviews, but I think you get the point. It's a fantastic show, and if you're interested in watching it, then please go check it out. And if you haven't seen it and aren't interested in watching it, then why'd you watch this entire video? Come on, man. You're just clowning. But anyway, that's all I have for the day. See you, gamers.